Hey, it's your girl Natalie Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Mindfully Well Rooted. This is where I talk about all things mental health, motherhood, marriage, and a little bit of everything else in between. So we're going to dive into today's video. I'm going to be talking about my personal experience with anxiety, specifically my first time when I experienced anxiety. So let's dive right into it, okay? So let me take y'all back. I was 11 years old, 6th grade. I was preparing for a school project. I overthink that project way too much. Like I used to do everything at that coming up in my childhood. I grew up in I wouldn't say super strict, but it was a strict home. My dad retired military, Marine Corps. He didn't really take no shit from nobody. My mom, she was just mom. I was more afraid of my dad than anything else, and I didn't want to upset him by any means at all. So, school project, working on it. I don't even remember what it was about anymore. But I knew I overthinked it, I overstressed about it. I put too much, I was stressing myself out. My teacher gave us 2 weeks to work on the project. I dove right into it as quickly as possible. Got home, got on the computer, researching, reading books, encyclopedias, getting all the information I could soak up possible. I think it was about something about the solar system or molecules. I just know I was overstressing and overthinking about it. And I wanted it to be absolutely perfect because I felt like everything had to be perfect. I didn't want to make any mistakes. I didn't want to look like I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't want to make my parents upset. I didn't want to not follow in the footsteps of my older sister. I didn't want them thinking I wasn't as good as her because, I mean, basically, I'll let y'all know, I used to compare myself to my older sister all the time. Like, all the time. Even into adulthood. I literally wanted to do just about everything she was doing. I have learned better since. I researched for my project for about 4 or 5 days, and then I started to actually put the pieces together of what I wanted it to look like. My teacher at the time was also my sister's college professor. My 6th grade teacher was her college professor. And I totally felt like, even though we were on 2 different, I mean, come on. Now that I look back at it, come on now, Natalie. Y'all are on 2 different levels completely. I was in the 6th grade. Sis was in college, like straight up college, undergrad. But I had always put her up on a pedestal like she was the divine being to become. Like, I didn't want to fall short of anything that she had already done. I wanted to look good in my teacher's eyes because, I mean, he talked about my sister so damn much that lucky became, like, engraved in my head mentally in a way that it affected my schoolwork. Now that I'm self-examining the situation, I finally got to work about what I was going to present for my project. So, I'm up, doing my work. Immediately after I get home from school, I start working on my project like for like 6 days straight, up until right before the day of presentation. So we are the day of presentations, y'all. I kid y'all not, I was stressed out for no reason. I was worried about my glasses, my hair, my clothes, my shoes, how I smelled. Did I cover everything? Did my board look okay? Did my model look okay? I was nitpicking at everything still, even though my dad and my mom had told me it looks great, it looks phenomenal, it would do great, Natalie. I got into my own head in a certain kind of ways. We were lined up, giving presentation. I believe that when it came time for my turn, I excused myself, asked if I could go to the restroom so I could tidy myself up a bit, even though I was dressed to the nines and So I'm in this restroom. I will never forget it. I'll never forget it. I was in the restroom looking at myself, trying to bring down the high that I was on. My breasts were so close together. Felt like I was hyperventilating, and then I felt like the walls were about to close in on me, and the room started spinning. I backed up against the wall in the restroom. I felt like I couldn't get myself off of it, and I just felt like a weight was on me, on my chest. My breathing was quick and rapid. I couldn't get it to slow down, and I was in fear that I was going to pass out. I was frozen solid with breaths going, like, I would say maybe they were going by pretty fast. I probably got in 6 or 7 breaths, probably in a second, because I was panicking, literally panicking for whatever absurd reason had come into my thought process. And I guess after so long, so much time had went by, it didn't feel like a lot of time to me, but I felt stuck to the wall, frozen solid, unable to move, in fear, sweating. Ended up sweating. It was trickles of sweat all over my body. And I guess so much time went by that my teacher came looking for me. He knew I had gone to the restroom. And the next thing I know, I hear somebody calling my name. And I'm like literally not able to come out of what I'm experiencing. I would assume he asked another teacher, a female teacher, to come find me in the restroom. And I see somebody come in, and I know who she is. She's another 6th grade teacher, and she calls my name. She looks at me. I probably look stunned and shocked and fear, and she sees that what is happening to me, and I guess she realizes what's going on. She holds on to me, grabs me. She says, "Natalie, calm down, slow down your breath, come back to me, slow down your breath. And she pulled me out of it, thankfully, and then I just feel like I catch myself out of a breath, and whoa, that was the first time I had ever experienced anything like that. It was brought on due to an excessive buildup of stress and worry, wondering what my parents are gonna think, what my teacher's gonna think, how I'll look in his eyes because he's teaching my sister, how I'll look in my parents' eyes because I don't want to do anything that my sister hasn't already done. Or it was just a whole bunch of madness that propelled me into that particular state. Once the other teacher, she had got me calmed down. She asked me if I was okay, and I answered her, honestly, I do not know. She asked if I needed to see the school nurse. I said I felt like I needed to because I wasn't feeling well. Like, it looked like I had just run a 5-mile marathon. While I was paralyzed in anxiety, I had been sweating so bad. And I had never gone through anything like that before. And I was completely terrified and completely in shock. I felt like I couldn't do anything after that. I wasn't about to worry about presenting anything. I felt weird. Nothing. It wasn't a pleasant feeling at all. I can let you know that for sure. I know that I ended up walking out of the restroom, and like my whole class was standing there as I was coming out. All these people looking at me, my teacher confused, wondering what's going on. He sends all the kids, my classmates, back into the room because, because for the sake of my privacy. He ends up asking me what happened. I'm like, I have no idea at all. I just know I need to see the school nurse. I ended up going into the nurse's office. I explained what happened to me. She quickly realized that I had had an anxiety attack. She was quick to ask me if I wanted to be picked up or my parents to call me. I said, absolutely not. No, I think I'll be okay. I just need to breathe and take a minute or two to just come back and tune myself. I never let my parents know that ever happened to me. Like, my mother recently found out that I had an anxiety attack when I was 11, probably this year, when we were going through therapy together. That anxiety attack, it was the start of a long road dealing with mental health issues. I tried to suppress that anxiety attack. I didn't tell anybody about it outside of the individuals who knew about what happened at school. I'm guessing my nurse, she didn't let me inform my parents. My teacher, he didn't inform anyone, which is good because I didn't want anybody knowing. At the time, I felt embarrassed. I felt like it shouldn't have been happening to me. And like, why would God put something like that on me? I mean, I came from a good home. I didn't do anything negative to anybody. I was a nice person. But I had a complete and utter terrible anxiety attack that followed me for several days. Like, it was a shadow that moved over me because of what I had experienced, and I just couldn't get over it. I made sure not to get too excited about anything after that, or to put too much of myself in anything, because I didn't want that happening again. Needless to say, it would happen again. That anxiety attack still triggers me today because of all the conditions surrounding it, of how it led to that point. I put too much of myself, I put too much effort into something that didn't require all of that effort. I was worried about how I looked towards other people, family, siblings, friends, even myself. At the time, as an 11-year-old, I held myself up to certain kind of standards, which should have not been the case. And I know how prevalent it is now for kids to have anxiety, for kids to have depression, because of the standards that people put on them and for the thoughts that they have about themselves. And it's so hard to talk to someone about how you feel because, one, first of all, you don't want to be judged. Second of all, you don't want anybody to think that you're not capable of handling yourself. I should have told my nurse that I wanted her to call my parents. I should have, because it would have made things probably a whole lot easier for me. Now, I wouldn't say easier, but I would have been able to talk to somebody about the things that I was feeling that led up to that point, but I didn't. And I feel like a part of that is because God needed me to go. God wanted me to go through that specific journey to lead me up to this point, so I could be the voice to help someone else and help them realize, like, no matter what you're going through, please reach out to someone. Please get some help and assistance, because you can end up saving yourself in the long run and other people. Because when people don't know, they could be saying things that trigger you internally on the inside, and it's just eating away at you even more. And that's how it was for me. I had more anxiety attacks. Depression followed soon after because of things that people were saying, and I held on to those mentally, and I put that inside of me internally. And it replayed in my mind over and over again what people would say, what people expected, and it affected me for several years until I finally got some serious help that I knew I needed. Until I dealt with postpartum depression. It was the first time I went into a hospital for mental illness. If you're watching this and you're dealing with anything related to anxiety, depression, bipolar disorders, suicidal thoughts, anything that's affecting your mental wellness, your mental health, reach out to someone. Leave me a comment, because I know that having support matters in these types of situations, and I want you to be able to get the help I know you deserve, because we need you here. We want you here. We want you fully healthy and well, able to cope. I want to be that voice and that help that I didn't have at that age, because I know how much it means. I know how important it is to have that type of support. So I'm going to end it on that note. I appreciate you all watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you haven't already, please subscribe, turn on your notification bells so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos in the future. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and peace.